I got into law enforcement, the idea of it, when I was in college. Like any kid, I was enamored with cop shows on TV. Nick at Night, like Ponch and John with Chips, the X-Files. Really any cop show, I was all about it when I was a kid. And I got into college and took a few classes that brushed on law enforcement and sociology and kind of became hooked. And then I did a ride-along with the Evansville Police Department, actually. And I was sold at that point. I knew I had to do it. I was in loss prevention at Sears, and I saw the Owensboro Police Department was hiring. I was in college at that point at USI, and I put in an application for the Owensboro Police Department. I didn't have any great expectation of being hired. I was so young. I was 21 years of age. I hadn't yet finished my bachelor's yet. But they hired me, much to my surprise. And I went on to have a short career there, but a very enjoyable one. I learned a lot. Spent about 2 years there. But when the opportunity came to come to the sheriff's office, I took it. You know, the pay was higher, and it was close to home. And I'd always been an admirer of the sheriff's office. I kind of, when I was choosing the law enforcement agency that I wanted to go to, I thought, either I'm going to be a state trooper or I'm going to be a Vanderburgh County Sheriff's deputy. Because it was right next door. It was the biggest sheriff's office in the region. They had a really good professional reputation, and I was fortunate to have Brad Ellsworth hire me. This has been I'm not going to say a pet peeve, but this has been an issue. This has been a problem for this jail almost since its inception. As you can imagine, when any jail is designed, costs have to be measured and decisions have to be made in terms of where to save money. In this case, the jail that was built back in 2003, the administration at the time had to be judicious about how the money was spent. And one of the shortcomings was the height of the cells. Not an uncommon issue. Many jails around the state have the same size jail cells that we have. But by code, you have to have sprinklers in these jails to prevent a fire, necessarily so, obviously. And there's no great way, really, to protect those sprinklers from attack by inmates. And so what we found in this facility is historically, and if a frustrated inmate or an inmate who's a disciplinary problem, one of the few ways they know they can act out and do true damage to the facility or disrupt operations is to damage the sprinkler head, causing it to discharge and flood the entire cell, and in some cases the entire cell block. And so this has been an ongoing issue, and I felt it was important to finally do something about it, because last year we had 24 sprinkler heads get damaged by inmates, 24 cells being flooded, which means all of the mats, jail mats, and commissary items and bedding has to be, in many cases, discarded and thrown away due to concerns about mold and cleanliness. The sprinkler water that comes out of those things is not exactly clean. It's been stagnant in those pipes. And so it's a pretty big mess. It causes a huge disruption for our operation to bring inmates out of those cells, do cleanup. It's manpower intensive, and it's expensive. It costs me over $500 every time a sprinkler gets damaged. What this bill does is raises damaging a component of an automatic building sprinkler system, raises it from its current status as a misdemeanor to a level 6 felony. And I'm very pleased that Vanita Becker was willing to do this, because an average inmate, I think, wants to spend their time in that facility, do their time, and then leave. But there's a select few that are disciplinary problems, and those are the ones that are causing us issues. An inmate is not particularly, who's willing to damage a sprinkler, an inmate's not particularly concerned about accruing another misdemeanor charge. It doesn't mean all that much to an inmate who's already a convicted felon and is potentially facing time at the Department of Corrections. So there's not much to lose as far as the inmate, from a penalty standpoint, from committing another misdemeanor. But when you make something a felony like that, then you get an inmate's attention who might be willing to damage your property. Because Indiana has a sentence enhancement, or a multiple felon offender enhancement, making a repeat violator eligible for being a habitual felon designation, which can add some real time to someone's sentence. And so if you've got 3 or more felony convictions, then you're eligible for a sentencing enhancement. That is a pretty big stick in terms of our ability to maintain control and prevent damage to the facility. Senator Becker, anyone could have testified to it. So, how a bill works is when there's a hearing for it, then anyone can come up there and testify either for or against or neutrally about the bill. And so Senator Becker invited me up there to testify, and I was able to give some testimony during the hearing. And now that it's advanced to the floor, I'm looking forward to see what progress the bill makes from there. And hopefully we'll get a similar bill moving up in the House side, and then we'll be able to put this into law. I've always loved being a sheriff deputy, being able to help people. And now I find myself in the position of not only being able to help people, but to be able to help the people that work here at the sheriff's office. People I love. They are my comrades. And being able to do things for them to make their job easier, like for instance, what we've been able to accomplish in our jail already by coming back up to full staffing. We started the year in 2023 being down by at least 30% on our staffing. It was causing us to have forced overtime, morale was low, and we've been able to turn that around this past year, and we are now, with this last hiring group, going to be at full staff in our facility. We know that won't last with the new expansion that is planned. I'll need to hire more people, but County Council under President Jill Hahn has been fantastic to work with. They're strong supporters of law enforcement, but I understand we have to be judicious in how we spend taxpayer money, and so I'm never going to be one for just wasting taxpayer money on needless expansion or expenses. So we got to control costs, but at the same time we've got to be able to operate the facility that we have and plan for the expansion. So I enjoy putting processes and procedures in place to make sure that our people are kept safe, that the jail and our patrols are operated in a safe manner, and have an impact on public safety, and to be able to increase the quality of life not only for our community members but for our own employees as well. Yeah, so we've been able to hit a lot of our goals already. I ran on a platform of community-based policing, and so we've already begun that program in earnest. And now we've got neighborhoods now that have already received postcards letting them know who their community-based sheriff's deputy is. A postcard that has that deputy's phone number, someone you can reach out to. So if you've got a neighborhood in the county, you're going to be receiving a postcard throughout this year as we roll out this program. And so that just puts folks directly in contact with our office. You've now got a point of contact for the sheriff's office directly so that you can reach out when you have a problem. And that level of community contact and community involvement I hope to be is a cornerstone of how we proceed this year. We've got a great relationship with the Evansville Police Department. I'm looking forward to continuing to work with Chief Phil Smith. We've got a close relationship to make sure that both our agencies are pulling in the same direction. Through our task force participation. We've got folks that are members of the Joint Narcotics Task Force, the Marshal Service, and the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms ATF Task Force. This is tremendous groups that accomplish a whole lot to keep our community safe. And I look forward to making sure that we maintain those partnerships and leverage those into keeping our community all the more safe.